Good evening. My name is Desmond Martin. I am an IDS major at the University of Southern Miss. The purpose of my research project was to attempt to answer the question, what can single parents do to offset the negative effects of society on their student athletes? Changes in times, and the times that we live in today, have been dramatic from the times of our parents or our grandparents. In today's society, the flashy life, BET, MTV, VH1, things like that have polluted the minds of our children to a point that we are losing our youth. Rises in teen pregnancy have become startling, which is taking away wisdom from the household and replacing it with youthful ignorance. In this paper, I want to answer this question because I think if we can answer this question, we can save the lives of millions of teenagers, millions of children, and in turn, we can partly save our future because our children are our future. Kids these days don't understand the things that they do, and they don't have role models in their life to tell them about the things that they do. Anybody here who has any children knows that raising a child starts in the home, and then it goes into the community, and along with the community comes the school. But in today's society, music and other influences, i.e. gangs, sexual activity, have taken the place of parental control in the lives of our children. Our children are raising themselves, and as we all know, they don't have the mental competence to do that effectively. And slowly but surely, it's destroying our society and destroying our country as a whole. This is something that bothers me for the simple fact that I love to work with children. I began working with kids back when I was about 19. I started coaching Pee Wee football in my hometown, in my neighborhood, and I started to notice the things that kids would say or the things that kids knew about that when I was their age I didn't know about because I wasn't supposed to know about them. Some of the things that we hear our children say nowadays, years ago, it would never be tolerated for that to come out of a child's mouth. Now, in order to have a starting point for my project, I went back and found other research that had been done on similar questions or subjects that may affect the question or may be able to help me answer the question that I have. I read and reviewed several books and articles on subjects ranging from teen pregnancy to single parenting. Now, while digging up background information, I came across a couple of terms and a couple of statistics that stood out to me and I felt like would help me build ground on where I wanted to start and where I wanted to go with my research. One of the main things that stood out to me was something that I read in an article called the mother co-parent relationship. The term co-parent was something I had never heard before, but in all honesty, I saw a lot of this in my life coming up, and I still see it now. A co-parent is any person who is not a biological parent of a child who spends the majority of that child's life with them. Perfect situation. If you have a young girl, 16, 17, high school student who still lives with her mother, and she has a child, that child is absorbed into that family. That mother slash grandmother becomes a co-parent. The father figure isn't around. So instead of that child having a what they call a nuclear family, which would be a mother, father, and child, he or she has become subject to what's called a co-parent relationship, where he or she has a mother and a grandmother who are the two parents in their life. And in this article, it talked about the co-parent relationship being negative or positive depending on who that co-parent is. And I felt like that was very important in trying to answer the question and trying to realize what changes were affecting society so much and which of those changes were affecting our children. Secondly, there were a lot of statistics about sex at an early age, talking about kids as young as 10 to 11 years old having sex. And I felt like that was a shocking thing, but it's very true. Teaching at a junior and senior high school, I have seen kids who are around the age of 11 and 12 years old, and you hear them having conversations about sex, and it just makes you wonder what's going on at the home. What are the parents, you know what I'm saying? What are the parents teaching them? Then sometimes you come to meet the parents and you realize where the problem starts, because a 12-year-old's mother may be in her 30s, early 30s, late 20s, showing you that when she had this child, she was a child herself and probably too ignorant to raise the child properly in most situations. Now, in order to do my own research, I had to figure out which forms of methodology would be the best suited for what I wanted to do. And I came to the conclusion that personal interviews and surveys would help me with this. I felt that an interview with Dr. James Lofton would be a good way to gain great insight into some of the problems I wanted to discuss amongst youth today. Now, Dr. James Lofton is the principal at Prentice High School. He has worked in education for 32 years, 17 of which he has been in an administrative position. And I really felt like the thing that I really wanted to do with Dr. Lofton was gain insight from somebody who could look at the effects of society on kids from two different generations, being that he started teaching in the 70s and is now teaching in 2011. He's seen the changes and seen the metamorphosis of society from what it was to what it is now. So I felt like his insight would be really good for what I was trying to do. Secondly, since I had the opportunity to do an internship at Prentice High in the fall of 2010, I was able to gain some rapport with the faculty there. With this in mind, I decided to pass out paper surveys to gain opinions on what it's like to be a teacher and how changes have affected the classroom. While conducting my research, I was able to get some insight from teachers when they simply took the surveys and looked over them. They were telling me, they was like, yeah, this is good stuff, because a lot of teachers feel the same way I feel, in the fact that we're losing our kids to the streets. We're losing our kids to these negative changes in society. So I felt like the survey would be a really good way to go, because, like I said, it gave me a genuine opinion from teachers who are on the battlefield, per se. While conducting my research, I was able to gain a better understanding of the problem that society has caused on the educational system, and in what way. During Dr. Lofton's interview, he brought out several key points. When I asked Dr. Lofton about some of the changes that he saw, one of the main things that he spoke on was the fact that families aren't families anymore. Families don't eat together, like they don't eat dinner together. And he wasn't simply just talking about family dinner, but he was talking about the fact that parents aren't aware of what their kids are doing and what's going on in their kids' lives. And, when a family sits down and eats, these are the questions that are asked. A parent has a chance to ask a child what's going on in school. Well, in today's society, parents kind of let kids raise themselves, and that's becoming a problem, because kids can't be their own parents. He also spoke about parents being leaders and not followers. I've seen situations where kids kind of decide what they want to do on their own. They're not given any kind of guidance. They're not being guided by their parents. It's kind of like the parents just go with whatever the child says. So Dr. Lofton stressed that it's very important for parents to take their role as parents from the start. They have to take their role in order for us to combat a lot of the negative effect that society is having. Because if a parent has no control, they can sit back and see what's going wrong and not be able to do anything about it. Dr. Lofton also said that as society goes, so goes our children. And I feel like this was a very powerful quote, because you can see now, as compared to the early 70s, with the rise of gang violence in the streets, more children are connected to gangs and they feel loyalty to gangs, especially those kids who don't have father figures in their lives. Gang members become their father figures. And this part of society, which is a rapidly growing part of society, has become a truly negative thing on the youth of our children. A lot of our kids are getting tied up in gangs and ended up dropping out of school by the time they're in the ninth grade. As I passed my surveys out, some of the questions that I asked the teachers were pretty simple, and the teachers were given the chance to answer their questions from a range of 1 to 10, with 1 meaning they strongly agree and 5 meaning that they strongly disagree. I'm sorry, with 1 meaning that they strongly disagreed and 5 meaning that they strongly agreed. The number one question was, today's society is having a negative effect on our children. It was unanimous across the board, all 5s. All the teachers really agreed that society's effect on education and on our children was destroying them. And when I had a chance to talk to some of the teachers about this, they were very adamant in saying that the changes in society from the time when they went to school have been so dramatic that it's almost scary. The second part of the survey asked, I gave 5 short answer questions to the teachers. And one of the questions was, in what ways do you feel that today's society has affected the educational process and children's interest in education? And the majority of the teachers basically answered that question by saying that society has taken children's attention away from education and away from the possibility of being successful through education, and replaced it with the dream of becoming a hip-hop star, or becoming a sports star, or becoming famous, or becoming a drug dealer. And with that in mind, a lot of the teachers felt like society, as I had first said, has really, really brought some negative effects on our children. The truth of the matter and what I've learned from my research is that this is a question that is going to take a while to answer. There are a lot of possible answers. One of them could be that parents could get more involved with their kids, but when that comes about, you have to ask the question, with the economy in the state that it's in, and parents having to work so much to support their kids, their families, and themselves, it's hard to put in the time that you need to put in with the child. And I felt like that would probably be the best answer, but with that contradiction, it's hard to say it's hard to come to the conclusion that that would be the answer to the question. I feel like the question that I have proposed is one that really should be researched more. And I feel like it's one, like I said from the start, that if answered, can save the lives of a lot of children. And I have a lot of teachers who also feel the same way about this. So hopefully in time, with more research, we'll be able to answer this question, and we can keep some of our kids from falling by the wayside and being lost and being subject to the negative effects of society. And that is pretty much the end of my presentation. I thank you for your time, and any constructive criticism is welcome. Thank you.